Hey guys, and so today I'm here with yet another episode of D3 Live. So today we're going to be talking about some of the new rumors and some of the new information we've got about the iPhone 5 as well as the iPad 2. Now, of course, Apple products are always really huge, and it looks like this year is going to be really good for Apple. They've got a lot of really cool things in store for us with the iPhone and the iPad. So since the iPad will be coming out before the iPhone, let's go ahead and start with it. So a lot of the rumors and the speculation and everything has been talking about that it will have a better screen, and I absolutely believe this. The iPad has a pretty nice screen, the current one, but I definitely think that it will be upgraded in the next generation. Now, as far as the screen size goes, I think it'll probably stay the same, if not maybe just slightly tweaked, but I think it'll be pretty much the same. Well, what should change is the resolution. So now a lot of people have been saying that it's going to get the Retina Display, which of course would be kind of ridiculous in a size of the iPad. And just kind of put it into perspective, that would have resolution higher than, the LED cinema display, which is over $1,000 just for the screen. So while it won't be Retina Display, I do think it will be improved and it should look a lot clearer and crisper. So moving on to a couple of other things, the iPad 2 also should get both front and rear-facing cameras. It's pretty, pretty safe bet there. But in addition to that, I think it will also go ahead and get an SD card slot. So this is going to be really huge, especially for people like me who do a lot of pictures and video. To actually go ahead and not need a dongle or anything like that to plug in and deal with that, but just go ahead and take your camera memory card, your SD card, and just slide it straight into the iPad. Go ahead and pull all your pictures and video off very simply. I think it will be a really, really nice thing. Now, in addition to that, I also do think that they will be doing a couple of things internally. So it should be a little bit thinner, and it should be a little bit, maybe the bezel might be shrunk. There are a few things that they will be tweaking, as always with every redesign. But another thing is that hopefully we'll have the new Apple A5 or A8 or whatever they decide to call it, but hopefully it will have a new dual-core processor. So of course the current iPhone, the iPad, and the iPod Touch all have the Apple A4 chip, which is very competent, it's pretty fast. However, with the iPad 2, more than likely they will have a dual-core processor. So just, put very simply, this means that it is going to be much faster. It's going to be able to go through video faster. It's going to be able to be snappier. Overall, it's just going to be a better, for pretty much everything, including battery life. So with any luck, it will be able to, watch 1080p video, perhaps even edit 1080p video, because I do believe they will get iMovie finally. And that just kind of put it all together. I really think that would be a great thing for people, again, like me, just because this is, kind of what I've been thinking about, and I think would make a lot of sense, was that the iPad 2 can be a really good tool for people who do mobile photo editing, and especially video editing. Because with the SD card slot, you can take it straight off your camera, put it on your iPad, and then go ahead and edit it with the dual-core CPU, and either iMovie or some other app, maybe it's like a Photoshop type app. Now, don't expect full Photoshop or anything, but some really cool photo and video apps that will allow you to do everything straight on the iPad. In addition, the iPad 2 also seems to be set to have enhanced 3G capabilities. So you should be able to go ahead and buy the standard Wi-Fi version, which of course will do pretty well for a lot of people. However, the 3G version should be compatible with both GSM and CDMA networks. So this is going to be a hybrid baseband chip, which just, put simply, would be able to allow you to go ahead and use it both on AT&T and Verizon, as well as many, many carriers globally. So this would be really cool. You don't have to, like the current iPhone 4, you don't have to buy one for this carrier or that carrier. You should be able to buy one iPad and be able to use it on multiple carriers. So overall, I think the iPad 2 is going to be a really, really solid tablet. Really going to be really just nicely done. Especially a lot of these rumors are just going to go ahead and tighten up what is already an excellent package. Now let's go ahead and move on to the second half, which is the iPhone 5. Now the iPhone 5, of course, and that's a tentative name, they very well might call it the iPhone 5G or whatever they're going to call it. But the next generation iPhone should be a pretty sizable upgrade. So of course there's going to be the Verizon iPhone 4 and the current iPhone 4. However, probably June, July, the same kind of time frame that they always do, we should go ahead and see the brand new iPhone. And with it, it should have an all-new redesign. So what I didn't touch on with the iPad 2, but I do think it does apply, is that some people have been saying that Apple actually might remove the home button. Now, to me, this seems a little bit, I'm not 100% sold on this, as I think that, the home button is what really Apple is really focused on. It's really clean and elegant. However, what a lot of people of the rumors have been saying is that they will remove the home button in the iPad and the iPhone with something like a touch-sensitive part of the bezel where you can just touch it. You won't see a physical button, but it will go ahead and register. Again, I don't really want to say whether this is going to happen or not, because honestly, I'm a little skeptical. But this is very possible to go ahead and see this on the iPhone and the iPad, so we'll have to see. Anyway, going ahead and focusing a little bit more on the iPhone itself, we should see an all-new redesign, perhaps going ahead and getting rid of the standard 30-pin dock connector and replacing it with a micro USB port for both charging and syncing. Now this would be kind of unique because there's never really been an iPhone that didn't have the 30-pin dock connector. And there could be some problems, especially with, using a lot of third-party accessories such as docks and everything like that. However, this could also open up some different things, such as allowing you to go ahead and use pretty much just a standard for all phones and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to see about that. But moving on to some of the more important things, I do believe it will keep the same size screen. They might change the Retina display a little bit, but to be honest, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot that they can update. The overall phone, I wouldn't be surprised if they change the antenna design even more. Perhaps they just scrap it all together, or they kind of get some kind of nice integrated antenna, but we'll have to see about that. Now moving on to the internals of the phone, it should hopefully have the Apple A5, or whatever they decide to call it, the dual-core chip from the iPad. Now this, of course, all the same benefits that you find in the iPad should go ahead and find their way over to the iPhone. Should be a lot faster, should be able to do a lot more things, perhaps even record in 1080p video using the back-facing camera. In addition to this, also, with any luck, it might actually have a full high-definition front-facing webcam. So, when you're using Skype or FaceTime or whatever, you actually go ahead and do this in high definition. So that's pretty much it. All the rumors and all this, everything we know about the iPhone and the iPad, the next generations. Okay, so for the second segment of D3 Live, I'll be taking live questions from everyone in the chat. So, as always, every episode of D3 Live is filmed in front of a live audience. We've got a lot of people, actually a record amount of people in here today, so we'll go ahead and just take some questions. Okay, is it for sure about the SD card slot on the iPad 2? Well, no, I want to just say this up front. Nothing is for sure until Steve Jobs walks up on stage and says, here's the new iPad, or here's the new iPhone. So, take all the stuff I've said, the stuff you hear online, everything, take it with a grain of salt. However, from what I've heard, from what everyone has heard, I think that there's a pretty good likelihood of seeing an SD card slot on the iPad 2. Do I think the iPad 2 will have a 7-inch version, or do I think it will be cheaper? As far as the 7-inch version, no. Steve Jobs has gone on record as saying that 7-inch tablets, you gotta sand your fingers down to use them, they're too small. I don't necessarily agree with that, but just based on that alone, I don't think we'll be seeing a smaller iPad. Now, as far as a cheaper version, that's kind of up in the air. I think that there will always just be the one standard model. I don't think you'll be able to get like an iPad and then an iPad that doesn't have features or whatever. I think they'll always just kind of stick with these the single kind of iPad. As far as the price goes, I don't know. I can see them maybe lowering the price a little bit from what the current iPad costs, but if they do, it won't be that much. Let's see here. Do I think the iPhone will come to Sprint and T-Mobile? I really hope so. Now that they've gone ahead and got rid of exclusivity in the United States, I definitely do think that the door's open for the iPhone to spread to more carriers. Now, of course, for Sprint, I think it would be fairly easy. There's already a CDMA, and same goes for T-Mobile. Technically they could do it without any major issues, but we'll just have to wait and see. I think a lot of it's not going to come down to whether or not they can make an iPhone that will do it, but it's going to come more to how they can negotiate and how much the carriers will pay to get the iPhone. Is it possible to unlock a Verizon iPhone for Sprint? Now, that's kind of a hard question. I've actually tried to look into this a little bit, but I'm not a real big expert into CDMA networks. From what I can tell, I don't really think it will be, just because I don't believe that Sprint will actually accept it. Now, do keep in mind that I might be totally wrong, so it's best to do your own research for that, but from what I know, I don't think you'll actually be able to unlock a Verizon iPhone for Sprint, but we will see. Will the iPad have a Retina display? Yeah, I kind of talked about that just a little bit earlier. It will have a better display. Now, I don't think they will call it a Retina display, and I don't think it will technically be a Retina display. However, it will be a better display. It will look crisper, clearer, and be higher resolution. Is the iPad 2 going to have a home button? Again, I kind of talked about a little bit about this in the main video. Personally, I think it will. I can see, if it doesn't, I won't be totally surprised, but if I had to make a bet whether it will or won't, I'm going to say it will, because while, having no buttons and being really minimalistic is definitely very, that's how Apple likes to do it, I think that a home button makes sense, and I think that if they decide to remove it, that's fine, but my money's on it remaining. Will the iPad 2 have a touchscreen? Yes. Will the Sprint iPhone be 4G? Well, actually, that kind of brings up a good question. Now, as far as when or if we'll see a Sprint iPhone, that's kind of hard to tell. But as far as when the iPhone will get 4G is actually a good question that I did not get to mention there. Actually, I don't think the iPhone, the next one that will be coming out, the iPhone 5, whatever you want to call it, will be getting 4G anytime soon. Now, I can definitely understand this. If you go back to when the original iPhone came out, it did not have 3G. And that was at a time where 3G was pretty much everywhere. I mean, it was not like it was some brand new cutting-edge technology. I mean, 3G was pretty much everywhere. But one of the main reasons that Apple is going to be holding back on 4G, partially it's just because of the technical, it takes a little bit more, it's just not quite as new or as a proven technology. But the major thing is that it takes a lot more battery life. So anyone who's ever used an Evo 4G, an HTC Evo 4G on Sprint, can definitely attest 4G eats up batteries really fast. And until the technology is there to keep the battery, just keep it from blowing through your battery in a couple hours, I don't think Apple's actually going to go for the 4G networks. Do I think the iPhone 5 will have an SD card slot? And as far as the iPhone 5, no, I don't think so. I don't really see that. I think that's probably much going to be remaining on the iPad 2. Will the iPad 2 have a back-facing camera? Yeah, I think the iPad 2 will have both a front and a rear-facing camera. As far as what qualities they will be, whether it'll be 720p or 1080p, the same goes for the front-facing camera. I'm not 100% sure, but I strongly believe that we will at least have a front and rear-facing camera of some quality on the iPad 2. Do I think that they're going to have 4.3 firmware come out at the Apple event? Actually, if you guys have been following, the firmwares and everything, iOS 4.3, the betas have just started coming out. I believe the first beta came out a few days ago. And I believe that will be what the Verizon iPhone will come with. So when we have it next February, this February 10th, I think that February 10th will probably be February 10th on or around that day will be when iOS 4.3 comes out. So no, I don't think they're going to have any kind of special event or anything like that. I think it'll just come out just like any other firmware update. But iPad 2 or Motorola Zoom? In my opinion, which is better? That's a good and difficult question. Now, I was able to go ahead and get a hands-on of the Motorola Zoom at CES last week. You guys can check my channel if you want to see that video. I like the Motorola Zoom a lot. That is a really, really good tablet. It has the new Gingerbread OS Android, which is really, really nice. I mean, I was really not expecting it to look anything like that, but Google's really done a great job of redesigning the whole thing to make it look really, really solid. So as far as that go, I am really impressed with the Zoom. I absolutely cannot wait to get my hands on that and to test that out because that's going to be excellent. Now, as far as the iPad 2, it's a little, we don't know quite as much about it. We don't really know exactly what features. Again, like I said earlier, all this stuff, while I think it's pretty likely, take it all with a grain of salt. There's a pretty good chance that one or two things might not be 100% accurate. So based on that, it's kind of hard to say. From what I know, I think the Zoom is going to be really good, but the iPad is just a tremendous success that I think even with these incremental updates, Apple's still going to do really well with it. So anyway, guys, that's it for this episode of D3 Live. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and if you're interested in more D3 Live, feel free to subscribe above. I do D3 Live every Saturday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, so you can go ahead and come, watch it live, and of course you can watch it the pre-recorded versions on YouTube. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching.